Hi, my name is Sylvia. I am a certified health coach and fitness trainer, and today's video is a full body flexibility routine that comes along with a PDF downloadable I created. If you would like to get your PDF downloadable file, don't forget to check the link in the description below. It's all the same information that is in the blog post, but it's just a more practical format. And today's routine, as well as the downloadable, is divided into body parts. Since we're stretching your whole body, I thought it would be helpful to visualize each body part as we go through the different stretches. But keep in mind that a lot of the stretches will stretch more than one body part, but it's just the main focus, right, of that specific stretch. We're gonna get started with your shoulders. For the shoulders, I really love the puppy pose. It's the best stretch in my opinion. And there are so many different variations you can try. You can try it on the wall, just stretching against the wall like that. Or on a table, if you want to get your hands lower on the table. You can use yoga blocks and stretch on your yoga blocks. And I'll get started with that to show you. So you'll put your knees at a 90-degree angle, and then you'll be putting your hands on the yoga blocks. And as I'm starting the stretch here, I'm going to go up and down using a more active stretch. And as you do that, push your heart against your back. You'll feel your heart going up, and you're really squeezing. You're not just collapsing into the stretch, you're squeezing up, bringing your elbows towards your midline. We're gonna do a few of those. And then you can just comfortably relax in the stretch, like that, and feel it nice and deep in your shoulders. And if you want to remove the blocks, you can do that as well, but you don't have to. I often keep the blocks, but I want to show you what it's like without them. And when you don't use blocks, you may be able to bring your chin against the mat. Also keep in mind that the further out your knees, the harder it gets. Next, we're gonna get into your hamstrings. We're gonna start with the pyramid pose. So stand up, step your right leg in front of you. Your left foot will be at a slight angle, just like I'm doing right here. And now you're going to lower down by hinging at the hips. You can use your blocks if you can't reach the ground. And make sure that you are keeping your tailbone lifted, engaging your lower abs when you are in that stretch. And also you're pushing your right hip back. And we're gonna start by moving in the stretch a little bit. We're gonna lift your toes up and down. And now we're gonna just relax in the stretch for about a minute. When you relax into any stretch, try to get deeper as you exhale. So you inhale, pull your chest forward, exhale, lower yourself further into the stretch. Also, as you start opening up, or if you feel a bit too uncomfortable, you can move your hips from side to side and play around with the stretch. See what feels best. So if you move your hips slightly like that, or you can move up and down from your back toes. Whenever you stretch your hamstrings, it's a good idea to remember to engage your quads. So you're lifting up at the knee. We're gonna switch side. Same thing here, we're just gonna go up and down a few times. Now you can relax into the stretch. Again, remember to push your left hip back. Engage your lower abs as you lift up your tailbone. And keep your left kneecap lifted. Also, whenever you stretch, and sometimes it's uncomfortable, you want to tense up throughout your body. So try to think about relaxing your face, your neck, your shoulders. Next, we're going to do the half split, and you're going to take your right leg in front of you. And as usual, use blocks if you need them. You can frame your front leg with your blocks, as long as you're making sure that you're keeping your right hip back, your core engaged, your tailbone lifted. Go just as far as you can in the stretch as you exhale. The half splits, in my opinion, is one of the most effective hamstring stretches. And whenever you get to that point when you can do the splits, the full splits, doing the half splits first is like one of the best stretches. I often hold those poses for about 2 minutes. Today, since I have a lot more stretches that we're going through, it's a full body routine. I'm holding them for about a minute, but if you look at my other routines that focus on the splits, for example, you'll see that I hold them for longer, usually. Well, depending on how long your stretching session is too, obviously, right? So if you're doing a half-hour stretching session, which is usually what I do, then I hold my favorite stretches for about 2 minutes. But also, you can always change things up depending on how you feel that particular day, right? Some days you'll feel like you can't stretch more than 15 minutes and you don't feel like it, you don't want to do it. 15 minutes is better than nothing. Other days you'll feel like you're in the mood, you want to stretch, you're enjoying your session. Well, in that case, stretch for 30 minutes to an hour, right? I'm gonna switch leg. Another thing you'll notice is that you'll often feel more flexible on one side than the other, and that's perfectly natural. Now we're going to get into your front and back body, and the reason I have front and back body together like that is that you'll find that whenever you stretch your back, you have to open up your front and stretch your front at the same time. We're going to get started in Cobra Pose. Lie on your belly with your arms at a 90-degree angle. Press the front of your feet on the mat. And press your hips against the mat. Lift through your chest and you might feel a really nice stretch, just like that. And if that's so, just stay there. Open up your front body. Lift up through your chest. Or you can straighten your arms and stretch right here. And as you stretch here, always make sure that you're keeping your shoulders down, you're lifting up through your chest, and I find that pressing through your hips helps. Another thing that you can try to pay attention to is bringing your elbows in towards your midline. If you are on straight arms, and making sure that the top of your feet are pressing on the ground. These are all little things that are going to help you get the most out of this stretch. I have another full body stretching routine and I'll link it in the description. It's a bit more of a beginner one. I mean, this one is not super difficult, but we're just about to get in the wheel, so it's not necessarily for beginners. Although, if you can't do the wheel yet, you can do the bridge instead. So I'm gonna show you how to do the bridge first. Now, as you lie on your back with your knees bent like that, just see if you can graze the back of your heels with your fingers. Then open up your chest, tuck in your arms behind you slightly, just to open through your shoulders some more. And then lift by pressing through your heels. You can clasp your hands behind your back and bring your heart up. And that feels nice and deep in the front body. You may even feel it in your hip flexors a little bit. Now, if you're ready for the wheel, just take your hands on each side of your head and lift up again to the crown of your head, and then you can readjust if you need to. I find it hard to have my hands at the same level for some reason, so I check the alignment, make sure your elbows stay in, and then lift up. And as you get started, you might find it helpful to count your breaths. So you can go for like 5 breaths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you lower slowly. The wheel is still very demanding for me. So if it's so for you too, you can take a nice little pause here. But it's such an energizing pose. I really love it. Next, we're going to get in your inner hips. And the first pose that I want to do to help you stretch your inner hips is the frog pose. The frog pose is awesome. You're going to open up your knees and your feet are pointing outward, just like that. And then you're not leaning forward. Try to lean back. And stay here if that's enough of a stretch for you. Or as you open up, not only you can bring your knees further apart, but you can also lower yourself down on your elbows. Another helpful tip when you do the frog, as well as our next stretch, which is the wide angle seated forward bend, is that you can move back and forth in the stretch. I find that really helps me stay longer in the stretch and gain more flexibility over time. And again, if you're anything like me, when you get started with those inner hip stretches, you might find that you really want to tense up. Like, those are intense, I find. So like, just try to focus on relaxing your body as you are in the stretch. Many stretching routines, if you check it out on YouTube or wherever, use each pose for a few breaths, maybe 30 seconds. You'll find that most of my routines, I stay in each stretch for about a minute or two. And it's just because, from experience, from trying a bunch of different things, I found that was the best way. That was how I got the most results. Obviously, if other trainers do it differently, maybe that's what worked best for them. So it's always a matter of experimenting for yourself. Okay, so let's get into a wide angle seated forward bend. Another one of my favorites. I do this one almost every day right now because I have really been neglecting my side splits, flexibility, and focusing on my front splits. So now for the side splits, this is one of the best stretches that you can do. You can stay like this if that's where you're at. And often when I just get started in that stretch, that's where I am at. You can also put your hands behind your back. Again, the important part here is that you engage your lower abs. Think of your butt sticking out behind you as you lean forward. And as you're lifting up your tailbone. Again, I like to use movement as well. So I'll often go up and down in the stretch. You can even use a weight here. You're always engaging your quads by lifting up your kneecaps. And sometimes I grab my toes like this. Sometimes I just take my hands in front of me, play around with the stretch. You can do these types of passive stretches while doing something else. You can, I have to mention that you can listen to music. Sometimes I do them while I watch a TV show. It's just, this way you spend a little bit more time in each pose and you can just put your mind on something else. I mean, thinking about the sensations in your body can be helpful sometimes. But whenever you're holding a stretch for quite a while, like this one, for example, you could do that. It's also great to do something else and think of something else as you're stretching. Another good way to do that stretch is against the wall. And so sometimes, almost every day as well, I'll just sit like that, but with my feet against a wall, and then you can push yourself as far as you can with the resistance of the wall. Okay, so now time to get in your side body. We're gonna start with the side angle pose. And to do that, you're gonna take your right foot in front of you, and then bend your right knee. Now you can take your elbow near your knee and support yourself against your knee just like that, and then stretch your side body by extending your left arm. Shoot the energy through your left fingers. Another option, if you're a bit more open, is to bring yourself down on the mat or on a block, depending on your level of flexibility. And then stretch like that. The wall is in my way here. I'm gonna back up a little bit. There you go. We're not gonna keep these stretches as long. Just a few breaths. Switch side. Again, you can go like this, or lower yourself down. Open up through your chest. Now back in your seated forward fold, but we're going to stretch your side body this time. And the way you're going to do that is by leaning to your right to start and then your left. So you can stretch like this and feel a stretch in your left side body. If that's too difficult, another option is that you can fold one leg. Well, in that case, I would fold the left leg, and then you can stretch your side body, just like that. So that's a great way to do it, because you want to focus on your side body, and you might find it too intense in your inner hips with your legs wide open like that. But I like doing it with both legs open. Now switch side. Maybe you find that gazing up is helpful to stretch even more your side body. Now we're gonna get into your quads and hip flexors, and these are gonna be the last two moves of this full body stretching routine. Let's start with a low lunge. So take your right leg in front of you. Try to keep your knee at a 90-degree angle. Untuck your back toes and lift through your chest. You can engage your abs as you pull up. Also engage your left glute. That'll help stretch your hip flexor. You can take your stretch in your back more by clasping your hands behind you, opening up your chest. Another option is to lift your arms up. I find it really helpful to keep focusing on engaging my left glute, engaging my abs, cinching my waist. Switch leg. I like to start each pose in the most simple version, like this, right here. We're just resting, waiting to open up. But then if you start opening up more and you want more, that's when you decide to clasp your hands behind you or lift up your arms. But you may just decide to stay here. Listen to your body. Take your hands down. Now we're gonna do Pigeon Pose. I kept the very best for last. I love Pigeon Pose. Take your right leg in front of you, your right knee right behind your right wrist. Then depending on how flexible you are, you may keep your right foot closer to your hip, or you may bring it further, like this. I'm not that flexible yet. I mean, sometimes I do it, but I need to do a few rounds of the pigeon before I get there. So today I'm just gonna keep it closer to my hip. And again, your left leg is pressing against the mat. Focus on on the top of your left foot, pressing against the mat. Also the edge of your right foot. And then you can lift through your chest, cinching at the waist. But if you are not flexible enough and you can't really balance well in the pigeon pose, sit on a yoga block. I show you how in my beginner full body routine. As you open up, you can get more of a quad stretch by lifting up your back foot off the mat and grabbing it. Switch leg. I'm gonna bend my right leg. This is also a great back stretch, I find. Alright, so you're all done for today. I hope you enjoyed this routine, and if you want to see improvements in your flexibility, you really need to work at it almost every single day. I recommend that you do either a 15-minute or a 30-minute stretching routine every day, and you really will see results.